and let's reassess where you are, and let's look at the trajectory. And then I want to reassess if the expectation still makes sense, A, if the timeline still makes sense, B, or if the effort makes sense, C. They weren't able to bring as much effort as they wanted. Amazing. Can we lower the expectation? Can we expand the timeline? Having those normal conversations with your clients are going to totally transform your process. And that's how you become proactive. And as a byproduct, more clients will feel successful, more clients will cross the finish line, more renewal opportunities, upsell opportunities, referral opportunities. But I can tell you, if you want to create raving fans, nothing is going to create as many raving fans as having a tough conversation, where it's a leadership-based conversation with your client, where you hold the mirror and you show them how they're behaving. Because no one is willing to do that. Because everyone is afraid on how your client is going to react to a conversation like that. But that's when you actually help someone to change.
Welcome to the Ethical Scaling Podcast, your guide to navigating online business with integrity. Join Jay and Ben on this epic journey. Whether you're a seasoned pro or new to the game, get ready for insights, strategies, and a dash of humor. So grab your favorite beverage, cozy up in your favorite spot, and get ready to deep dive into the art and science of ethical scaling. From client success to boosting lifetime value. Plus, learn how to turn clients into your best advocates. Ready to scale ethically? Let's dive in.
All right, welcome back to the Ethical Scaling Podcast. And today we're going to show you how to stop dealing with fires in your fulfillment. And really taking you through the process of going from reactive to proactive to preventative.
That should be the end goal. And I hope you have some clarity at the end of the call on how to go through all those steps. And I think we need to, first of all, so there's like 100% clarity. What do we mean about being reactive?
Yeah.
What do we mean about being proactive? And what do we mean when we say being preventative? And I think it's very simple.
There's a reactive
example. If you listen, I hope you guys can listen to what's happening in the background. There is a reactive measure. Someone needs some reactivity. And that actually leads to something important. There is nothing wrong with being reactive.
Yeah.
So learning how to react is going to be very important in your business. What I've observed over the past 3.5 years is that very little businesses know how to be reactive. So there is an art and the science on how to be reactive, but that shouldn't be your goal. The goal shouldn't be how to be reactive. It's like, cool, if I need to be reactive, I know how to react, but that should be the minority of my time or my team's time being reactive. So my next step is to be proactive. And proactive is, I know something is going to happen. I'm aware, and I can prevent that problem from happening. And at the beginning is not preventative. It's just proactive. You know that's going to happen, and you're going to be the first one starting that process of avoiding a problem.
Yeah. Well, I'm just like having PTSD because I'm remembering my 18 months as a client success director, right? And, overseeing team of 7, 250 active clients, like on and on and on. The whole time was reactive. Like it felt like every moment of every day was reactive, and I obviously didn't have the systems that we have and, all of that, but like that burned me out to the point where I had to leave that company. So, it's, yes, like there is a time and a place to be reactive, but it will kill you and your team and your business if you stay there long term.
And what I've seen is either burns out the owner or it ends up creating team churn.
Yeah.
Because we talk a lot about client churn, but team churn is very challenging as well. So if you have trained someone, invested in training and ramping up a client success director, a client success manager, account managers, coaches, and then you start losing them all because they're burnt out, we need to address the system. And the only way for you to go from reactive to proactive is by having a system. Let's be very blunt and honest here. You need the system. If you don't have a system, we need to create one. I'm sure you do have a system. It might not be perfect, and you might not be aware on how your system works, holistically speaking, but you do have a system. And being proactive is going to give you a lot. a lot of good things. But we talk about being preventative. So let me clarify the difference between proactive and preventative. When I think about being proactive, you're doing it consciously. I look at my client roster. I see this client is not making progress. I see this client is not emotionally invested. I can be proactive and reach out to the client, but I had to look at my client roster. Yeah. Preventative is when you do the proactive approach for so long that you build mental shortcuts that you feel in your gut if a client is going to struggle. And you're like, how do I know that this client is going to struggle? Reps. So we can give you the shortcut to go from reactive to proactive, but we cannot give you a shortcut to be preventative. Sadly, I would love to have shortcuts for that for our clients, but there is no shortcut there. It's like training, managing, and QCing. When I mean QCing, quality control for your team, so that you can help them become preventative by acting as a feedback loop as an owner or a client success director that gives the team feedback. Hey, you're doing this really, really well. Or this could be better, or you don't have the system or the procedure on how to do this. Let's build it together so in the future you have it. And I just want to start by making like the definition of each step of the process very, very clear and giving the North Star, which is going to be how can we become preventative? Because if your team understands how to become preventative, there is going to be like a really cool thing that will happen. Increased capacity. Why? Because you become more efficient. That's the end goal, and that's the unexpected result from doing all this work. Because again, Ben, I think you can talk about a specific example from a client of ours that they saw increased capacity. And when I say increased capacity, it's not necessarily client capacity, but energetic and mental capacity from just going from reactive to proactive.
Yeah. So, this was a couple months ago, but I was training a team, one of the teams we were working with, and after, I want to say it was maybe just 2 or 3 sessions, I was asking them about efficiency because they were saying, I feel like I'm wasting time on this thing and I'm, getting burnt out and, hearing all the typical reactive symptoms, right? And, after just a few trainings that they were implementing stuff, they said, man, I'm putting in the same number of hours, but my energy is much better. Like this doesn't feel draining now. And, we didn't talk about this, but not only that, so they've gotten more efficient, they're not as reactive. There are times where they have to react. That's going to happen. Yeah. But they went as a team from doing 2 to 3 upgrades a month to like 15 to 20 the last couple months.
That's like a 7x.
Yeah. Yeah.
Solid.
And not only that, right? Yeah. So owner's super happy. Awesome guy. But not only that, guess what happened? Their front end acquisition broke. And so he's not stressing as much. There's stress there.
There's always stress.
But he's like, man, this is amazing because we've got this back end MRR coming in. Like we're good. Fulfillment is good and in a groove. Now I'm going to go work on our sales team and our marketing.
And I think what actually happened with you training the team, people will say, hey, cool, Ben, I got it. They are proactive. How? I think one thing we do, well, we go through a lot of topics, but what we're coaching is extreme ownership.
Yeah.
That can be coached, in my view. And I know that a lot of our listeners, they're business owners, so they read a lot, and they probably read Extreme Ownership. And it's a really great book. I love it. You've read it as well. And one of the key concepts, for me, the biggest takeaway from that book is decentralized command. That's my biggest takeaway. How can we decentralize decision-making? As an owner, when you started, everything was centralized. You were the one making all the decisions. But in order for the team to become proactive, it cannot be you making all the decisions. But in order for your team to make decisions, they need to understand how decisions are made or how they should be made. Because if you just challenge someone, hey, I don't like your decision, cool, coach me on how the decision should be made when I'm dealing with a scenario like this. And that's not common. Let's be very frank here. I don't see that happening a lot. Communication is not great internally. And because everything is so reactive, there is no time to learn the lesson and do it differently in the future. So that would be the first step for me to go to be more proactive.
Yeah. And another thing that this team really just improved too over the last couple of months was their tracking. Because once, the owner actually went in and did an audit of things and got like deep in the weeds, and he just saw a whole bunch of clients that were falling through cracks. And so, he overhauled that. Obviously we help with that. But that too, now the system has, the team has clarity on, these are the SOPs around tracking. This is what we do to ensure that 0 clients fall through cracks. These are the touch points. These are the milestones. Like all those things also are allowing them to stay in proactivity and not be like, oh, this client was supposed to be, have their week 4 call and it never got booked, that kind of stuff.
And it will prevent a lot of those scenarios where clients reach out to you, hey, no one cares. I've been falling through the cracks. I want a refund or a cancellation. It's totally different when the person reaches out to the client and says, hey, Jay, I haven't heard from you. We had a call booked. You rescheduled the call. Is everything okay? Yeah. That's a normal human-to-human conversation that we have every single day with all the people we know. But sometimes I don't see, most of the times I don't see that happening with clients. So when I think about the proactivity, I need to know what are the indicators I should be looking for to be proactive. That's going to be very important. And something we do and build with our clients, which is going to be very important for you, if you want to build something like that to be more proactive, is what we call client health scores. So client health scores is how we can label different clients based on, one, their progress towards the goal and the initial expectation, and secondly, their buy-in. So if they're emotionally invested or if they're suffering from buyer's remorse. If you understand those two things, you're able to create different scenarios and different procedures for each scenario. So as an example, if my client, let's use the traffic light system, because it's a very simple system that we use with our clients. Imagine my client is yellow on progress and yellow on buy-in. Meaning that my client is making a little bit of progress, not at the pace I expected, and the client is partially engaged, but not super engaged. Do you guys think if you wait 4 weeks, that client is going to be green? I don't believe anyone believes it. But most people don't know what they should be doing. Yeah. And because teams struggle with having tough conversations, they won't be proactive having those tough conversations. But I can tell you, if you want to create raving fans, nothing is going to create as many raving fans as having a tough conversation where it's a leadership-based conversation with your client where you hold the mirror and you show them how they're behaving. Because no one is willing to do that. Because everyone is afraid on how your client is going to react to a conversation like that. But that's when you actually help someone to change. Because they want to change. They want to be someone different. And if you can be the vehicle or help them find the vehicle to go to where they want to go, that's going to be massive. So that requires that proactivity. Hey, Jay, let's sit down. Let's reset expectations. Because we talk about setting expectations, but there is also the reset of the expectation. Hey, Jay, you told me you wanted to accomplish A in B time with C effort. Let's jump on a quick call and let's reassess where you are and let's look at the trajectory. And then I want to reassess if the expectation still makes sense, A, if the timeline still makes sense, B, or if the effort makes sense, C. They weren't able to bring as much effort as they wanted. Amazing. Can we lower the expectation? Can we expand the timeline? Having those normal conversations with your clients are going to totally transform your process. And that's how you become proactive. And as a byproduct, more clients will feel successful, more clients will cross the finish line, more renewal opportunities, upsell opportunities, referral opportunities. So all the RGAs that you want to do, revenue generating activities, like, again, going through them, online reviews, testimonials, referrals, upsells or renewals, they are going to be based on proactivity. It's like, oh, all my clients are winning. Cool. Can you tap into reciprocity? That's a very simple question that I feel like most people don't tap into. So again, long story short, there is no shortcut for preventative. It's just being proactive for as long as you can and being ready to deal with it. And even dealing with escalation, even though it's not the ideal scenario, you can be proactive. So my client is red, using the same example. The client didn't ask for a refund yet. I can be proactive. I can reach out to them. Oh, we use Slack as an example for client communication. The client didn't respond. Cool. Where was the last place you communicated to them before they were a client because they weren't in Slack? Yeah. Oh, we used email. Send them an email. They didn't respond. Did you have any other place where you communicated with their client? Oh, we used school. Okay, cool. Send them a message in school. If you reach out to the client on those 3 places, then you don't get a response. Okay, cool. You did everything you could, but you did. That's still proactive. That's your last resort. That shouldn't be what we try to do first. We should have like a process so you reach out to the yellow, not to the red client. But even though when the client is red, you can still be proactive. Because for me, reactive is when the client will reach out to you complaining. When you're in the one in the lead of everything, you're leading the engagement, you're leading the relationship, you're a leader for your client. That's where you need to become like really proactive with what you're doing. So I think we can brainstorm like 2 or 3 steps for our listeners to just go back and have some solid conversations with their teams to think how they can make those small tweaks to kind of manage their energy a little bit better. Do you have anything top of mind that you want to go through?
Well, I think first is just assessing like where is the most reactivity coming from?
Or where in the journey?
Yeah. Where in the journey? Like what's the common denominator? Is it like one source? Most times it's going to be like 1 or 2 main things. Right?
We can even share which ones are the ones we see the most. Typically, the handoff between sales and fulfillment. So those first 7 days or the first 30 days, that's the most common. And for me, it's 2/3 to 3/4 of the journey where the motivation is not there anymore. Nothing is exciting anymore, and then clients can get like super disengaged. That's probably not the scenario where clients ask for refunds or cancellations, but they're disengaged. Meaning that they won't be as receptive when you ask for a testimonial, a case study, a referral, something like that.
So I think it's identifying those, and then what is a solution, right? And you guys might have to go through some iterations of solutions. Like you don't just flip a switch and go from reactive to proactive, right? And so having that patience and just know, hey, we're testing, just like you do in marketing. Like we're testing some things.
And that's what's called quality assurance. You create a new system or process, you share it with the team, you're very transparent. We're going to test this over the next 2, 3, 4 weeks. I'm going to be supporting you guys, listening to a few calls. We're going to measure if things are getting better. And if they do, I will have someone in my team that's going to make sure we can do quality control to keep that standard over time. And that's the full transparency we also need in our team to make sure when we're rolling out something new, we're going to frame it, this is a test. We're going to test it. It looks good in theory. Let's see how it looks in practice. And then we can move on. And I think just keeping things very, very simple. The third thing that I would add there is like, if you're not tracking, I know that we might be boring because we talk about tracking a lot of times, and it's not the most sexy thing in the earth, the planet Earth. It's to talk about tracking. But how can you train someone to be proactive if they don't know what they should be looking for? And tracking can be simple. So again, full transparency. I think we can talk about anything here. Our listeners will know our work and stuff. So we think tracking is so important that we're developing our own software to track client success. Because we know for several reasons, you need a very simple software that tracks the most important behaviors and most important milestones in the client journey so that you know how you can leverage all the good things you need from the clients, from being proactive if the clients are getting more disengaged, being proactive when you got to get like referrals, testimonials, and all the RGAs, and also being proactive when your clients are ready to churn, basically. So top of mind, you can start simple. If you don't have anything in place, build a spreadsheet. Client names in there, track success, track engagement, track progress, and you're going to be already much better than what you are now. And again, I hope our listeners know that anything anyone needs, if they want to pick our brain, brainstorm something, it's easy to find us. We're not hiding under a rock. So we're normal humans, people that sometimes see us in person. They can reach out to us, say hi. We can talk through stuff. We go to a lot of different events in person with high-level entrepreneurs. So I would really love that our listeners would come to us and say hi, and we can discuss these things, or just send us an email, go on our website, grab our book. And this is not a soft plug here for the book, but I think it's important when people want to go deeper in these concepts to feel comfortable, and they understand that our long-term vision is to really make a long-lasting impact in the online service space, so that actually by helping our clients, they can help their clients better, and we make this a better space for everyone, and it's going to be client-centric. Because if there is one thing I want everyone to remember, we don't scale because we want. We earn the right to scale when we're client-centric.
Awesome. All right, guys, that's all for today. We'll see you next time.